Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Great English Podcast. I'm Catherine.
And I'm Mark. Today, we've got a topic that's very relevant to our daily lives. We're diving into something everyone can relate to, dealing with toxic people.
Oh yes, Mark. Toxic people. We all encounter them at some point, whether it's a friend, a colleague, a neighbor, or even a family member. You know, those people who just seem to drain our energy, make us feel stressed, or bring us down.
Exactly. But what do we really mean when we say someone is toxic? It's not like they are literally poisonous, right?
No, of course not. When we talk about a toxic person, we're describing someone who consistently brings negativity into our lives. They might try to control us, manipulate situations, or always complain and never seem to be happy.
Ah, I see. So, it's more about their behavior and how they make others feel?
Precisely. And today, we're going to help our listeners understand how to recognize these behaviors, and most importantly, what to do when you realize someone in your life is toxic. This conversation might just help you improve your mental well-being.
That sounds great, Catherine. But before we dive deeper, I have a question for you. Have you ever had a toxic person in your life?
Oh, definitely. I think we all have at some point. I remember a friend from college who was always negative. No matter what was happening, she would find something to complain about. And if I ever shared my problems, she would somehow make them about herself. It was exhausting.
I totally get that. I had a coworker once who would constantly gossip about others and always seemed to create drama out of nothing. It was like having a storm cloud in the office.
That sounds challenging, Mark. Toxic people can make our lives so much more stressful. So, let's talk about how to recognize these behaviors early on to protect ourselves.
Good idea. What's the first sign we should look out for?
One of the biggest signs of a toxic person is negativity. If someone is always finding faults, always complaining, or never seems satisfied with anything, that's a huge red flag.
Right, and another sign is control. Toxic people often try to control everything, what you do, what you say, and even how you feel. They might get upset if you don't follow their plans or make you feel guilty when you make choices for yourself.
Exactly. They might say things like, if you really cared about me, you'd do this, or you always let me down. It's all about manipulating your emotions to get what they want.
That's so true. And speaking of manipulation, that's another sign. Toxic people are often very good at twisting your words or making you feel like you're the one to blame, even when you've done nothing wrong.
Yes, and they often play the victim. You might hear them say, "Why is everyone against me?" Or "I'm just too nice, and people take advantage of me." They rarely take responsibility for their own actions.
Oh, and don't forget gossip. Toxic people often love to talk badly about others behind their backs. If someone is always spreading rumors or speaking negatively about others, that's another sign to watch out for.
Absolutely. It's like they thrive on drama and conflict. So, now that we know the signs, let's discuss how to deal with these people. What's the first step, Mark?
The first step is recognizing that the person is toxic. This might sound simple, but it can actually be quite hard because toxic people are often good at hiding their true selves, at least initially.
Yes, they can be very charming at first, which makes it difficult to see their toxic behavior. Once you do recognize it, the next step is to set boundaries. Don't let them control your time, emotions, or actions.
And setting boundaries can be something as simple as saying, "I'm not comfortable with this conversation," or "I need some space right now." It's about protecting your peace of mind.
That's so true. And remember, it's perfectly okay to say no. You don't have to agree to every request or invitation, especially if it makes you feel uncomfortable or unhappy.
Absolutely. Saying no can be tough, but it's important for your well-being. And sometimes, if things get too difficult, it might be time to distance yourself from that person.
Right. Distancing doesn't always mean cutting them off completely. It could mean spending less time with them, not engaging in certain topics, or even just keeping conversations light and polite.
But Catherine, what do you do if it's someone you can't avoid, like a coworker or a family member?
That's a great question, Mark. In those situations, you have to focus on managing your own reactions. You can't always control how someone else behaves, but you can control how you respond to them.
That's true. Staying calm, not letting them push your buttons, and avoiding arguments can make a big difference.
Exactly. And sometimes, just taking a deep breath and choosing not to engage can be the best response. Walking away, or changing the subject, can prevent a lot of unnecessary drama.
Absolutely. And it's important to find support from people who are positive and uplifting. Surround yourself with friends and family who bring out the best in you, not the worst.
That's so important, Mark. Positive people can help you stay grounded and keep things in perspective. But what about family members who are toxic? What do you do in those situations?
Family can definitely be complicated. But the same rules apply: set boundaries, limit contact if necessary, and don't be afraid to seek help from a professional if things get too difficult.
Great point. Sometimes, just having an outside perspective can help you see things more clearly. And remember, it's okay to put yourself first. You deserve to be happy and healthy.
Absolutely, Catherine. It's not always easy, but prioritizing your well-being is crucial. Do you think toxic people can change?
I believe they can, but it requires a lot of self-awareness and effort. They have to genuinely recognize their toxic behaviors and truly want to change.
Yes, and change takes time, support, and commitment. It's not something that happens overnight, and it might not happen at all if they aren't willing to put in the work.
Exactly. While it's great to hope for the best, it's also important to protect yourself in the meantime. You don't want to waste your energy waiting for someone to change if it's causing you harm.
Very true, Catherine. And it's okay to hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Sometimes, we need to make those tough decisions about who we allow in our lives.
Absolutely, Mark. And just to wrap things up, let's recap the main points for our listeners. First, recognize the signs of a toxic person. Second, set boundaries to protect yourself. Third, don't be afraid to say no and distance yourself if needed. And lastly, focus on managing your reactions and finding support from positive people.
That's right. And remember, you're not alone. We all deal with difficult people sometimes, but with the right strategies, you can protect your peace and well-being.
Well said, Mark. And if you found this episode helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Great English Podcast for more episodes like this one.
And feel free to share your own experiences or questions in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening, everyone. Until next time, take care and keep learning.